Welcome back to a new session of MOOC on Information Security, Communication Threats. The objectives of this module are to understand the communication threats, to understand various methods such as tapping and piracy. Threats for communication. So far we have reviewed various types of threats or attacks possible to information system, which can be categorized under program threats and system threats. Now we are trying to explore the threats possible during communication through a network. Anyhow, the general thrust is the same. The threats aims at compromising confidentiality, integrity and availability put on against data, software and hardware. An isolated system or standalone office with a few employees is considered to be secure against various attacks. But when they are added to network, the risk increases. Before we see the various possible attacks, we need to identify the difference in working of a network apart from a standalone environment. Anonymity. In a networked system, an attacker can mount an attack from a distant place without having any direct contact with the system administrators or users. The attacker is safe behind an electronic shield. Points of attacks. A computing system is a self-contained unit. Access controls on one machine preserve the confidentiality of data on that processor. But when a file is stored on a remote server, it needs to be accessed by different hosts to reach the user. The security policies and access control mechanisms will be different for these systems. So, attack may be possible from any host. Hence, large network offers many points of vulnerability. Sharing. Networked systems enable resource sharing and more users will have access to these shared resources than a single computer. So, the access controls for single systems may be insufficient for networks. Uncertainty. A network's expandability infers uncertainty about the network's boundary. One host may be a node on two different networks. So, resources on one network are accessible to users of the other network also. Although these types of accessibility is an advantage, there are chances for uncontrolled group of malicious users to access the network, which is a serious issue with respect to security. Unknown path. In a network, there may be several different paths from one host to another. Suppose a user on host A wants to communicate with user on host B, the message can be routed through host C and D to reach B. Host B may have security controls, but D may not. The users of the network will not have any control over the routing of their messages. This increases the possibility of attacks. Thus, a network differs from a standalone system in its environment, which enhances the security risks. Types and motives for attack. Once we know the motives behind the attacks, it will be easy to identify the types and techniques for possible attacks. Generally, the most important motives are challenge, fame, money and ideology. Challenge. The most significant motivation for a network attacker is the intellectual challenge. Some attackers enjoy the intellectual simulation of defeating the theoretically undefeatable. They are trying to see how far they can go in performing undesirable activities. You may have heard of Robert Morris, who executed the internet worm in 1988 as an experiment to see if he could exploit a particular vulnerability. Majority of attackers repeat the well-known or well-documented attacks, while a very few uses previously unknown flaws. Fame. Some attackers seek attention and recognition of their activities. Such attackers will leave behind a calling card with a name. They retain some anonymity by using some pseudonyms, but they enjoy the personal thrill of seeing their attacks written up in the media. Money. Another motivation for attackers is financial rewards. Some attackers are interested in spying, seeking information on a company's products, clients, etc. You might have heard of the theft of laptops and some confidential papers, while some other valuables such as money and gold are left behind. These types of industrial attacks are of corporate nature. In July 2002, such an attack was reported regarding the admission to Yale University. The rival Princeton University broke into Yale's online admission notification system and interrupted the communication to some of the applicants. In another case reported, a startup company was about to activate its first application on the web. But 2 days before its unveiling, the head officers were robbed. The only item stolen was the computer containing the application's network design. This creates a dilemma of going online knowing that a competitor might know the internal architecture of the product or delay the product to change the design. This type of industrial spying is illegal, but it happens because of the high potential gain. Ideology. Many security analysts believe that the Code Red worm of 2001 was launched by a group motivated by the tension in US-China relations. Two related behaviors, hacktivism and cyber-terrorism, were identified by Denning. Hacktivism involves operations that use hacking techniques against a target with the intent of disrupting normal operations but not causing serious damage. Cyber-terrorism is more dangerous, which is politically motivated hacking operations intended to cause harm such as loss of life or severe economic damage. The use of internet for communication accelerates the methods and techniques for security and terrorism. By the previous discussions, you are clear that an attacker can gather a significant amount of information regarding the victim before beginning the actual attack. Now, we are moving on to some of the widely seen communication threats happening on information network. In the former sessions, we have used the term eavesdrop. Can you recall what was that? Yes, simply overhearing without paying any extra effort. The easiest way to attack is simply listen. An attacker can eavesdrop by simply monitoring all the traffic passing through a node. Interrupting the communication through inappropriate behavior can be termed as wiretapping. Wiretapping and electronic eavesdropping are two types of electronic surveillance that play vital roles in criminal investigations. Wiretapping. Secretly monitoring and recording the telephone, telegraph, cellular, fax or internet-based communications is termed as wiretapping. It is achieved either through the placement of a monitoring device informally known as a bug on the wire or through built-in mechanisms in other communication technologies. Enforcement officials may tap into either for live monitoring or recording. A commonly used recent wiretapping tool is packet sniffers program, which are used to capture data being transmitted on a network. A variety of other tools such as wiretap trojans are used for different applications. Both wiretapping and electronic eavesdropping enables the government to monitor and record conversations and activities without revealing the presence of government listening devices. Law enforcement officials have utilized these sneaky techniques for various investigative purposes, particularly in the context of organized crime and counter surveillance. Electronic surveillance can reveal, for example, the scope of a criminal conspiracy or organization, the nature of its activities, and the identities of its participants. These allow investigators to secretly obtain evidence of a particular conversation, series of conversations or meetings for use in prosecuting the identified suspect in a non-crime. Piracy. Software piracy is the illegal approach of copying, distributing, modifying, selling or using the software which is legally protected. In other words, software piracy is the action of stealing legal software in an illegal way. This software piracy refers to the unauthorized copy and use of legal software. And now, this critical problem has turned into a global issue. Regulation for software piracy. Software piracy is illegal and there are strict laws for these illegal activities. So, financial penalties are also there for this convict who breaks these copyright laws and creates copyright violation. End user license agreement is a license agreement which is used to protect software legally. It is a contract between the manufacturer and the end user. This rule defines the rules for legal software. One common rule in EULA is that it prevents the user from sharing the software with others. Types of software piracy. There are mainly 5 types of software piracy. Each type of software piracy is explained well below. Soft lifting. It is the most common type of software piracy. In this piracy, the legal owner of the software is one, but the users are multiple. For example, someone purchases the genuine software and others will illegally use that software by downloading the software to their computer. For example, many times we borrow the software from our colleague and install a copy of that on our computer just to save the money, which rises to soft lifting, one type of software piracy. Hard disk loading. It is the most common type of software piracy which mainly happens in PC resale shops. The shop owner buys a legal copy of the software and reproduces its copies in multiple computers by installing it. Most of the time, customers or PC users are not aware of these things and get the pirated version of the software in the original software price or less than the original price. It is one type of commercial software piracy. Counterfeiting. In counterfeiting, the duplicates are created for genuine legal software programs with the appearance of authenticity. Then these duplicate software are sold out at less price. Client-server overuse. In client-server overuse, more copies of the software are installed than it has licensed for. Mainly, it has seen in local business sectors when they work under a local area network and install the software in all the computers for use by a number of employees, which is an unauthorized practice. Online piracy. In online piracy, the illegal software is acquired from online auction sites and blogs, which is mainly achieved through the P2P, that is peer-to-peer file sharing system. As it is acquired by means of internet, often it is called internet piracy. Software piracy is a danger because many times it fails or malfunctions. No warranty of the product as it is acquired by illegal way. Risk of security issues. No upgrade and improvement in features and functionality. High risk of virus and malware infection to the computer. Software piracy may be easily avail the pirated software in a cheaper price, but users should aware about its bad effects on the system, data, security point of view, as well as users should be aware about the strict consequences for offenders breaking the law. So, as a conclusion, from a security point of view, you should assume that all communication links between network nodes can be broken. So, commercial network users employ encryption to protect the confidentiality of their communication. Hope the session was useful for you to be more secure, more intelligent while using your device and network for communication of information. Hope you enjoyed this session. See you next time. Bye.